Welcome back to Joe's Son of Boxing. Excuse me. On the undercard of the Josh Warrington fight in Leeds at the weekend, you had two women's fights. One was Ebanie Bridges, who stopped arch rival Shannon O'Connell. A lot of bad blood between those two women. Stopped her in 8 rounds in defence of her IBF bantamweight title. And then further down the card, you had the return of the much maligned Shannon Courtenay. I don't know what it is with women called Shannon who have beef with Ebanie, but they do. Whatever. Too many syllables in the name, probably. I don't know. But it was a return for Courtenay, who, in the past has been highly criticised for making excuses about defeats and just the manner in which she comes across, perhaps in interviews, as a little bit irritating or irritable or not a very likeable person. Bit entitled, maybe. Now, I've made a video. It's one of the first videos I ever did for Joe's Son of Boxing back in 2020, probably around about November, I'm guessing. November. Anyway, and I said, I was asking the question, why is she so disliked? And what I've just said seems to have been the general consensus. But people change, and people mature. They change because they mature. And when you're thrust into the spotlight, it can be difficult sometimes to adapt. And that happened with Shannon Courtenay, definitely. I mean, she won a belt, a vacant belt, I think it was, against a woman who probably wasn't world-class. So suddenly within however many fights, a handful of fights, she's a world champ. And did it go to her head? Oh, I don't know. Did it go? I can see what people say when you see her earlier interviews. There is a sense of entitlement there. There is a sense of, look at me, look at what I've achieved, aren't I great? That maybe that's reading between the lines, but that's what people do. They read between the lines. And when she lost to Mitchell, she was making all sorts of excuses. I won that fight, and oh, I blame I didn't make the weight because I was on my period and all. People don't want to hear this crap. You lost the fight, all right. You didn't make weight. Okay, it was a world title fight. You could have made weight. Unless I'm mistaken, all female fighters have periods. They all have menstrual cycles, and that's part of navigating your way through your fitness and through your preparation for any fight. So don't blame that. But as I say, people change. People do change. And she came in, Shannon Courtenay, against GEMMA RUEGG, who, if you know anything about the fight game, you'll know that Gemma she came in with a 5-5 record, but she's faced some very tough opposition. I think 7 of her opponents were undefeated, and she's beaten some and lost to others, and she's done things the hard way. I mean, she's on the the right hand side of the card, very much the person who's brought in to lose, and she did lose to Shannon Courtenay. I had it 78-74, and I think the referee, who was the sole arbiter, he scored it 77-75. So he had it slightly closer than I did. But for the first 6 rounds, there's no doubt that Shannon Courtenay controlled the fight. She was boxing pretty much on the back foot. Gemma just couldn't get close. Her feet were too slow. She was throwing it's weird, she was throwing the right punches. She was just always missing, and she was throwing them out of range, way out of range. So she was jabbing. She was throwing the right cross. And I sometimes, if a person is boxing on the back foot, you don't mind throwing the odd punch that isn't quite in range, because if you're not in range, it's difficult for the opponent to counter, and then it also keeps them thinking about what you're doing rather than what they're going to do. But having said that, if you're going to throw all your punches out of range, well, what's the point? There is no point. She just couldn't get close to Shannon, and Shannon was clocking her. When Emma did step into the range, Shannon was firing some good punches, nice, sharp, fast punches, very, very good actually, and using her feet very well. This fight was won as much with the feet as it was with the fists. But Gemma kept trying. Gemma, she's had quite an interesting backstory. She wasn't living a particularly good life, and boxing saved her. Kind of similar to Shannon Courtenay, who was, massively overweight, smoking and drinking, and, doing all sorts of other things that healthy. If you want to be healthy, you probably shouldn't be doing. And So they both these women, you know, have been, I don't know whether they're saved by boxing, but they've been certainly greatly helped by it. And Gemma with her, you know, multi-tattoos going down the neck, the legs, the arms, you know, very striking to look at. She was just always a full step behind Shannon, at least a step behind Shannon, who just basically boxed her at range. It wasn't particularly exciting until the last 2 rounds, when Gemma suddenly did get closer. I mean, certainly the 10-2's distance, I know I go on about this, but this is fit for people who are boxing and not looking to fight, not looking to get it. People who have slower feet are immediately, and who have to kind of put pressure, physical and mental pressure on a fighter by cutting off the ring and maybe, you know, losing a few of the early rounds to find their rhythm. And the 10-2's just doesn't favour people of that ilk. It favours the ones who are slicker, who want to box. Had this been a 10-3's or maybe even a 12, even a 10-2's perhaps, it would have been a closer fight for me, because there's no doubt in the last 2 rounds, around 7 and 8, Gemma was getting closer and was doing better work, and suddenly a fight broke out, and Shannon ended up with a minor swelling below her eye. It wasn't in any danger of closing the eye, but there was a discoloration and a swelling, and so she'd been hit, and there were a few like scuffing abrasions and grazes on her forehead and I think on her shoulder. So, you know, she knew she'd been in a fight. But this is obviously next is going to be a run at a world title for Shannon Courtenay. She wants her old belt back. She lost to Mitchell, who in turn lost to Nina Hughes. This is a very, very good weight division, the bantamweights for women. So Shannon's got to think, what do I want? Do I want to go after Ebanie Bridges? She's got the IBF bantam belt. Maybe I'll go after her and we'll have a rematch. That'd be a very good fight, because Ebanie's really sold herself very well, whether you approve or not of her using sex appeal to sell herself at boxing and get a profile up. You know, good luck to her. I mean, she's done very well, but in that respect. And Shannon's got quite a high profile. So put them together, you got yourself a good fight. But maybe Courtenay wants to go after Jamie Mitchell and avenge that defeat. I rate Jamie Mitchell very highly. I think she's a very good fighter, and I haven't seen the Nina Hughes fight. I've looked for it, I can't find it anywhere. If you can find a link for the full fight, Nina Hughes and Jamie Mitchell, please put it in the comments. And Nina Hughes, very, very good fighter indeed. I've seen her before. She is very good, but I want to see this. I want to see her beat Mitchell, because I rate Mitchell as well. There's some good women in this division. It's a very, very good division for the women. So Shannon is back, and as far as her out of ring persona goes, people do mature. They do put sort of. We all look back in some respects. And sort of cringe at some things we've said and done, and the way we were, the way we dressed, even, all sorts of things to do with our youth. And we think, oh, I didn't behave well there. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. Why didn't I do that? I say give Shannon Courtenay another chance. Maybe she has matured. And certainly she was very gracious. She's very gracious to Ebanie Bridges, who she beat, because she was saying, look, she's the champ. She deserves to be higher up the card than I do. Just because I've beaten her, it don't matter. She's got the belt. People change. People do change. And so let's hope that this is not a false dawn for Shannon Courtenay. Let's hope that she is going to concentrate on her boxing and ignore all the out of the ring stuff and just be pleasant to people. Be pleasant. And if someone says something horrible to you, do you know what? The best policy, I think, is just to ignore it. Anyone who puts themselves out there is going to get, they call them haters, don't they? This is the modern vernacular, they're haters. Oh, they're just twats. Just, get out your mum's base and take your Wonder Woman pyjamas off, have a shower, probably the first one you've had in 10, 12 days, and start living a life instead of slagging off other people. But, just my thoughts. So Shannon Courtenay is back. What did you think of the fight? Did you see it? I'd like to see her in the mix, because she can fight. She can fight, Shannon can. And her against Bridges or Jamie Mitchell or Nina Hughes, they're good fights, good entertaining fights. So, yeah, leave your comments below if you got any. Thank you for your time. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. If you're new and you could subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Hit the subscribe button. It costs nothing, takes you a second. Go on, do it. And yeah, hit the like button as well. That helps out the channel. But leave your comments below, like I say. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. Hope you enjoyed the boxing, and we will speak again soon. Bye bye for now.